Welcome to SFL This Week, along with Mike St. Green. I'm Cameron Irvine here on this beautiful Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Had some nice chilly weather across the country, so we hope you are warm and bottled up. I think St. Green's going to get more snow than I am, but either way, we're not used to it down here in the South. Welcome to the show, Mike, and especially on a day like today, happy to have you alongside me.
Great to be here, Cam. And yeah, it's not chilly, man. It is cold, and it's going to get colder down here in H-Town. And a lot of people are looking forward to the snow, excited about it. I can remember there was a time that I would be excited about it, but not as excited about it as I would probably once would have been back in my youth. But so we're just trying to stay warm and keep our head above the snow.
I want to get your live reaction because we didn't talk about this pre, and it's not in our notes. But were those calls against the Texans as egregious as I think they are? I'm sure. I want to know your reaction to those this weekend.
I tell you what, if you could have saw my reaction live, you would have thought I was more of a maniac than I actually am. But yeah, they were as egregious as anybody could have, imagined and tipped. And I hadn't, what's crazy is I haven't watched a whole lot of Kansas City Chiefs football this season. I hear about the kind of favorable calls that they may get, but yeah, it was kind of obvious what a couple of those calls that were made over the weekend.
Well, and what it proves, Mike, is that you get bad calls no matter what league you're a part of. There you go. You can't escape it. Not even here on the Virtual Football Network and in the SFL or anywhere else. Boy, we had some games this week, Mike. Some were great, and some just failed to deliver. It was a very bipolar weekend, and your H-Town Headhunters got a win, but This was one of the weirdest weekends that I can remember in the SFL, just from the standpoint of, just so many teams not finding the end zone and then other teams just kind of doing whatever they want.
Hey, Cam, I was actually wondering out loud, if we won't even have any highlights to show this weekend tonight because of the blowouts this weekend. We typically don't show the blowouts. So many of them. I'm like, man, the show will probably be only 15 minutes tonight because we won't have much to show the fans around the league.
Well, thankfully we had some bangers too, and had an overall nice weekend of SFL action. Some of the undefeated versus undefeated games lived up to the hype. Others did not. This one certainly did. We start tonight in the, there we go, in the nation's capital, where the DC Dragons took on the Albuquerque Adams, and it's Lauren Percoco from Shabazz Synergy early on, taking a 7-3 lead in the first quarter. Albuquerque would strike back early in the second quarter. Jive hands it off. Jason Williams muscles his way into the end zone. Albuquerque takes a 10-7 lead. Tie game at 10. Synergy on third and short with a nice little quarterback draw and slide. The Dragons got the run game going in the third. This is what we expected to see. This time it's Chuck Steller taking the toss outside. And the Dragons were starting to impose their will in the second half, all the way down to the 2-yard line. So Synergy on the keeper, Steller on that big carry, and then it's Kevin Safe for the touchdown. Mike, we know that story.
Yeah, we know how the Sheriff can, hunt for that goal line when he gets down around that close, and we see him with a nice little swan dive to get into the end zone for the 6 points.
Cyrus Jive, K. Marion just showing off there, down 20-10 with 7:40 to go in the fourth quarter. Albuquerque hanging around, handoff again to Jason Williams. He's in the end zone, 20-17. Albuquerque slowly nipping at the Dragons' heels, but this was the biggest possibly play of the weekend. A fumble right on the kick return. Sam Harrison, I don't think I've ever seen him fumble a kick return. Albuquerque recovers and they're in business.
Yeah, without a doubt, Cam, this was one of the biggest plays of the weekend and of this game. You can't give a team of Albuquerque's caliber that type of great field position.
3rd and 2, gotta have it. Jason Williams, man, he was good. And then, right at the end of the play, a personal foul face mask in a critical moment gets Albuquerque half the distance to the goal and gets them down to the 4. Finish it off, jive, dumps it off. Jason Williams, he's a touchdown magnet. 24-20. The game started with a Lauren Prococo touchdown. It ends with a Lauren Prococo drop. And that is the end. 24-20. Albuquerque, they said they couldn't win on the road. We didn't. We always believed in you, right, Mike? 24-20. Adams take down the Dragons and improve to 3-0. The South continues to impress.
Well, one thing I've wondered about Albuquerque coming over from SFLM, we know their pedigree from over there, winning several championships down there. I personally wondered would that carry over to the SFL, major leagues, and basically it has. They made the playoffs first season up in SFL last season, and now these guys have really hit their stride. 3-0 to start the season, and pretty impressive with the wins that they've had. I think the coaching staff over there, they do a great job week in and week out, and they're proving themselves pretty much championship worthy or championship caliber with the way they've started out this season.
Yeah, this was a big one. DC had scored a lot of points in the first couple of weeks, averaging close to 35 points a game. The fact that Albuquerque was able to limit them to 20 was pretty impressive. Kind of kept themselves in that one. And DC didn't play a bad game, but Albuquerque made that one critical play, and sometimes that's enough.
That's all a good team needs, Cam, is one critical mistake at that exact moment, and they definitely took advantage of it.
Well, Albuquerque and D.C. was a battle of undefeateds that delivered. We had another battle of undefeateds that delivered. That was D.C. and Denver rather, and Washington in Colorado. What a great play on this. We had to show this. Chuck Diesel, just an incredible play in the end zone. A lot of great red zone defense in this one. Shane Kaufman busts it open for the Washington Trident offense, trying to get to 2-0. Denver up 6-3 at this point. All field goals late in the first half. Watch Terrell Cooper here against John Martin. Muscles his way into the end zone, gets some help from a Denver Nightwing. That's Reynosa, who ended up shoving him into the end zone. Cooper taking the league by storm early on. Washington leads 10-6. Trellis Blanton deep down the field, caught as a defender falls over. Mosley all the way into the red zone has Denver in business, but they only got a field goal out of the drive. Hey, how about Jordan Bradshaw? We don't show a lot of kicker highlights on this show, but Bradshaw from 50, you bet, right inside that upright, 13-12 at that point. But touchdowns beats field goals. Tommy Utah slinging the rock all day long, and on third down and goal finds a wide open Azami Mihata in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, nice catch and throw right there, and that put Washington up by 8.
3rd and 6, gotta have it. Jay Viper wide open all the way down to the 8-yard line. How does that happen, Washington? 1st and goal. Now 4th and goal from the 12. Gotta have it. Blanton touchdown. Logan Keel, and Denver's only down by 2. They go for 2, and you would think, well, what are you gonna do? You got Bailey O'Shaughnessy, Dwayne Salmons in the backfield. Fake it to Ari Mills. They try to get the pass over to O'Shaughnessy. It's broken up, incomplete. And Washington holds on to win 20-18. A very Baltimore Ravens-esque moment there for the Denver Nightwings, and the Washington Trident move to 2-0. Your first reactions on that one?
But Cam, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say we saw that in real life football in the same corner of the end zone yesterday. A similar type play, but only thing this guy was covered a little better for on Denver last night. But I'm impressed with Washington, Cam. It kind of seems like they have lost, in my opinion. They did a great job of losing the St. Louis / Detroit identity, so to speak. I kind of still feel like, for instance, like Lexington, I still kind of feel like that Tulsa identity kind of still follows them. But it seems like in 2 games, Washington has, truly made their own identity and made their own statements in a couple of games, and they're looking really solid. And they seem like they're moving on from their past and looking forward to great things in the future.
Yeah, I think Denver, like DC, has to feel pretty good about the performance in the loss. I know that moral victories are tough, but they just needed more touchdowns in the red zone, and they would have been just fine. That dynamic duo of Dwayne Salmons and Bailey O'Shaughnessy starting to get going here a little bit. And remember all that talk, Mike, about how the stamina stuff is really, kind of hurt the run game and all that stuff. We saw multiple players get over 100 yards this week. We saw multiple tandems of backs cross over 150 yards. I feel like the running game is back. Teams have sort of figured out, how to get the best production out of their ground game that they can. I saw a lot of great running this week and a lot of a really good week for halfbacks.
Yeah, the running backs are definitely back. We're seeing great play all over this league. Noel down in Bossier City. I don't know if we're going to see that highlight or not, but he's been great with them to start this season with them. We saw Lee with Sin City have a great game last night. So the running backs are definitely back, and Denver. Played great, just happened to come up short, and I think the expectations for them are looking up as well for the remainder of the season.
So with Albuquerque getting a big win, Washington getting a big win to remain undefeated, those are two names that we didn't necessarily expect to lead a show in Week 3 as unbeatens. And Ashley Jackson sat down with Albuquerque's Neil Rivers, Washington's Shane Kaufman, a couple of faces we don't often get to see on this show to talk about their early season success. We sent it to Ashley and PGI.
We're back with PGI, where I am joined with defensive tackle and scout for the Albuquerque Adams, which apparently I messed up earlier, and I'm so glad that he forgave me, Mr. Neil Rivers. How are you doing, Neil?
I'm doing great, Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing so fantastic, and I'm so glad that you made time for me today, sir.
No problem.
So that come from behind victory was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you guys want to win at 24-20. But tell me about that experience from your perspective.
You got to give DC credit that they played a really good game. From the outset, you knew going in, playing on the road at DC, you knew it was going to be a tough one. It was going to be a dogfight. They got a good roster, good coaching staff, and it was a tough victory all the way to the bitter end.
Indeed, but it does say something about the resilience of the Adams to be able to keep pushing forward, even though it seemed like danger was imminent, So yeah. And then DC was at home, so anytime you're able to get a win on the road, those come in handy towards the end of the season.
Absolutely, it's good to get that first win on the road. That was our first game on the road, and to kind of prove to people that we can win some games on the road. But DC, I think they had a good playbook. The second half, they were able to run the ball pretty well, like 4-5 yards a pop. And as a defensive lineman, that's not good. Seeing that, the running backs get that much success. So I was definitely worried in that game, and but luckily our offense was able to stay close in the game.
Mm-hmm.
We were down 20-10, and then Jason Williams scored a touchdown, I believe, with 5 minutes left. And I was thinking, for us to win, we probably need a turnover because the way they're moving the ball against us, and I thought they would maybe throw a pick or something. I wasn't thinking on the kickoff. Well, luckily for us, he fumbled on the kickoff, and it was one of those ugly wins, just being honest. But DC had a good playbook, like I said, a good roster and good people over there. And a lot of times, a mark of a good team is taking advantage of your opponent's mistakes. If we just kick a field goal and tie it up, we might go to overtime, and then it's anybody's game. It's sudden death. So we were able to get in the end zone, and after that, we did make a stop on defense, and then got a couple of big first downs to get time to roll down, and we came out with the win. It was a good team win.
Hey, anytime you do that, like you said, it was an ugly win, but a win is a win at the end of the day, you know.
Yes,
One more
absolutely.
question. For anyone that is interested in scouting, because I do know that you scout for the Adams, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone that's actually looking to scout or for teams, you know, that are trying to gain more people to do scouting for them?
I would say just try it. When I first joined the league, I joined with Albuquerque and in the minors with Josh Williams, and I wanted to kind of join from the beginning, but I kind of wanted to. I laid back a little while for 3 games, the first 3 weeks of the season, just kind of see how it plays out, see how everything works. I was brand new. I'd never even been on Discord at that point. Like I didn't know what I was what I was doing,
Right.
but after the first 3 games of the season, I got a hold of Josh and was like, "Hey man, help me out. I want to scout. Like let's try this." And when you have someone like Josh, who's a great guy, helped me out tremendously. That's one of the reasons a big reason I went back to Albuquerque was Josh Williams. That's my guy. And but to anybody that wants to try it out, definitely do it. It's a different way of helping your team out rather than just on the field. That's what I like about it.
A very valuable way to help out your team. And you, sir, have been invaluable since you've been here. So, I mean, you have been very valuable since you've been here. And I really, really, really appreciate it, even though we haven't been on the same team together. I do watch the work and I see the effort that you put in. And I appreciate it. I love seeing it.
Absolutely, I love doing it. It's a lot of fun for me. I get a lot of satisfaction out of it, and during the good times, the bad times, it's losing games is no fun. But we're having some fun so far in Albuquerque. We're looking to keep it going. Got a lot of good teammates, good coaching staff. So let's go get this done.
Indeed, that is the emotional content that we pay for at the end of the day, and that we play for at the end of the day too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Neil. I'll see you soon. All right, and welcome back to PGI, where I am joined with Mr. Shane Kaufman. He is owner as well as running back for the Washington Trident, who just came off a very I would say roller coaster of a ride of a victory. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was definitely give me a heart attack there, towards the end, but we pulled off the big win.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, with 1 minute and 23 seconds left in the second quarter, you break a tackle, run downfield, getting all the way down to Denver's 30-yard line. I think that's like 48 yards. How did that feel to see your running back as an owner making those kind of contributions to the team?
Yeah, I mean it was definitely big. Made the switch to running back last year to help the team, so we can get in, better players at receiver and all that. So, it's been a struggle trying to build my player to get to where it's at. So finally busting a long run like that and definitely helped the team, put us in a big position there going into halftime. So it was definitely huge. So I was glad to see that, and I was happy for the team as well.
Indeed. Now, Logan Kill scared you. Scores a touchdown with 3 minutes and 22 seconds left in the fourth quarter, bringing the game 18-20. So, what was going through your mind at that time?
Man, I tell you, I've been around this league for quite some time, and I've been in a lot of games where those things don't go our way. So I was thinking to myself, well, let's not do this again. So our defense came up big at the end, and it was definitely a tight one, though, I can tell you that.
Definitely, definitely. One more question for you while I have you. Um, what made you decide that you wanted to become an owner?
Um, I came into the league. I got drafted back when it was still the Gladiators. Um, yeah, and then we went to
Oh,
Motor City, and I took over GM. So I always had aspirations of becoming an owner, and then when Bump and Diggs, we all got together, and we talked about it, and we made it happen, and I'm happy, how things are going, all the hard work that everybody on the team's putting in, and we're definitely, I think we got the roster and the guys to buy into what we want to build here in Washington. So I tell you, it's been tough at times, but I'm happy to see the progress that we're making right now.
awesome, awesome. Well, Shane, I want to thank you so much for your time, and please, feel free to share other moments with us when you can, man. I really appreciate you.
I will. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
All right.
Back to
Bye.
you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley, and let's get back to the highlights as Atlanta-Charleston was on Friday night. This was a weird one, Mike, as it was Atlanta getting off to a fast start. That has not been their MO in the first 2 weeks. The offense very slow going, but they build a 14-0 lead. Iman Kopech throws an interception to Chris Henry. It's all swarm all the time, but it was nice to see their offense, Mike, come out firing up 20-0 here in the third, getting another touchdown. This is BDG Hollywood now 27-0. Atlanta didn't have any offensive touchdowns until the fourth quarter in their first two losses.
Yeah. This offense really needed to get going. They were struggling early in ball games. We know they can score. We know what they're capable of, and it was great to see them get going early in this game.
Then something weird happened. 27-3. That was the first play of the fourth quarter. Iman Kopech to Doug Britton. Charleston played one of the best offensive quarters you'll ever see in the SFL. They score here, make it 27-10, and you're starting to think, is Michael Knight with that catch, you're starting to think, okay, maybe Charleston's getting a little bit of juice. But I tell you what, man, Atlanta just had it going tonight. Boo Chisholm on the kick return. This kick angled all the way to the left. He turns it back right, and this was the death nail.
It definitely was, Cam, and this is something we're not accustomed to seeing. I'm not accustomed to seeing Boo back there, but he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He takes it all the way back to pretty much put this game away for the Swarm.
34-10, 2 touchdowns in 50 seconds in that game. But look at this, man, 34-13, under 2 minutes to go. Charleston, no quit. Doug Britton with the score. This is tough to do, throwing from your own half-yard line. We've seen a number of teams find ways to screw that up over the years. 32 seconds left. Charleston's down just 14. They're in the red zone. This was how close the Predators got, but they throw an interception. Grant Hardaway, and Atlanta ends up holding on somehow, 34-20. This is the crazy stat, Mike. Charleston's offense in the fourth quarter had 267 yards. In one quarter, they were dead and buried in this thing, and then they come back and play great. They have just been such a roller coaster to watch this season, and at 0-3, a playoff team from last season, they've got to be frustrated.
Yeah, they definitely have to be frustrated, Cam. And, I know Iman Kopech getting his first opportunity to start on a regular basis for this team. They're kind of, obviously struggling coming out of the gate. He has a superstar receiver in Doug Britton on that team. I think a lot of teams are looking for superstar receivers these days, Cam, but I don't know if they're, that easily to find around this league, but Doug Britton is definitely one of them. But when you have weapons like that at your disposal, you can easily put up the type of numbers that they put up in that fourth quarter. They just need to find some consistency to be able to do that game in and game out.
Yeah, and Kopech's not playing bad. He's actually, he's playing decent. Those turnovers obviously were a killer. But I think the story of the game was Atlanta's offense. We have just been waiting for this team to look like they have a little bit of spark offensively and to go on the road, build that early lead. Everybody was getting involved. I think it was the Florida game that Fox Highwind didn't have a catch until like 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they got him involved immediately and early. A lot of people were commenting on their nice look as well on the road with their blue and green honeycomb down the side. But I mean, Atlanta's 1-2. Their 2 losses are to Minnesota and Florida. That's nothing to be upset about. We talked about it on the schedule release show about how they probably had the toughest schedule of anyone in the first 3 weeks. They had 3 playoff teams. 2 of the games were on the road, and 1-2 with 2 one-score losses. Not too shabby. I think Atlanta is probably feeling okay about how they've weathered the storm here in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, they definitely should feel okay about where they are right now. If they had lost this game, a 0-3 hole for any team in this league, well, we're already a quarter of the way through the schedule. If you're 0-3 headed to the remainder, 3/4 of the season, you have questions about yourself. Can we get out of this hole? There's only a infinite, amount of losses that you can absorb in this league if you hope to make the playoffs. So it was a huge win for them. As you mentioned, they were able to get Fox Highwind going early in this game. He's been a huge weapon for them over the past couple of seasons. BDG Hollywood, we saw him get into the end zone. I'm not sure what the remainder of their immediate schedule is, but that was a big win at a good time for them and to avoid that 0-3 hole.
Yeah, if Florida wins tonight against Mexico City, I mean they're still going to be pretty much in a hole. But if they lose, they're just a game back. They did lose the tiebreaker to Florida already, but still, a couple games back with 2 months to go is going to feel possibly obtainable for the Swarm. Speaking of Florida and Mexico City, the mighty cold front from Canada that we're all getting, it's not affecting Mexico City tonight. It's like 68 degrees and clear tonight. It's perfect football weather. I am so glad me and Charles are down south for that one because it's not going to touch Mexico City.
Yeah, man, it's this weather is crazy, but and that's funny. It is going to touch the northern part of Florida. This cold front is really crazy. That's coming through this part of the country here over the next couple of days. Man, basketball games are getting canceled and postponed down here in the Houston area. So yeah, it's good. That's going to be down there in Mexico City, where you have a little, sunshine and kind of toasty down there at 68 degrees.
About half an hour away from that kickoff. Let's get back to the highlights here. Let's start in Pittsburgh, where Arizona was in town. This game was 3-0 for most of the first half, and then Donnie Hands finds the end zone from Ashley Jackson, makes it 10-0 early in the fourth quarter. Bismarck Wright finds the end zone, 17-0 Arizona. They were starting to pull away. No quit in Pittsburgh. I like their alt Reds this week. That pass hauled in by Devin Lloyd, who was playing a lot of safety for Pittsburgh in this game, as the broadcasters were commenting about Riverhawks defense getting creative, and then a touchdown here to Mike Twinscrew that gets Pittsburgh on the board 17-7. But Pittsburgh just a little too late. Thanks, shout out to JoJo there. Buchanan Simons makes that play and puts the game away 20-7. Arizona takes out Pittsburgh. Okay, now to Nashville, where the Houston Headhunters were in town early in the second quarter. Greg Corky from John Lakeman makes it 10-0 Houston, but Nashville fought back. This is Chris Arthur. He had a very productive day for Nashville's offense. This is probably Switch Thumper's best pass of the season, low and away to Jay Ballmer. He makes that catch against a Texas team. We all know how Jay Ballmer hates those Texas teams. He was happy to get a touchdown there. Nashville led this game at halftime. Thumper with a touchdown, 14-13, but the turnovers in the second half killed Nashville. This was the first of pieces 2 on the day.
Yeah, JCP's had an excellent game, particularly in the second half, and we see the second pick right there. Guy Incognito, don't want to leave him out. He did a great job in the first half forcing a couple of fumbles, and give Nashville 5 turnovers for the entire game.
And at the 2-yard line, when Nashville trying to make a comeback, that would actually get called back due to clipping on that return, but Houston ends up getting the win 26-14. CJ Paris goes over 100 yards. And John Lakeman continues to sling it. I think I saw owner Damon Simeon say something to the effect of, it's our first back-to-back 200-yard passing games in this era. And so Houston, even though they're 2-1, lost a 6-point game to Albuquerque last week, well, that loss is looking a little bit better after they went to D.C. and got a win this week.
Yeah, John Lakeman was a huge pickup for Houston in this offseason, Cam. He's given this team everything that they've needed for stability in the locker room and in the front office and on the field as well. Great pickup for this team, and man, I'm really happy for C.J. Parrish. Had his first 100-yard receiving game of his young career. The defense played outstanding, and that's one of the big differences in the wins and losses. For the Houston team with the turnovers. They were excellent in ball hawking and getting the turnovers that we needed at critical times and able to get the W.
It's interesting the way that the quarterback dynamic, works in the SFL. You talk about Iman Kopech, who for much of the last month of the season in Charleston outplayed John Lakeman. You had Houston last season who had O.J. Bruin, who was just could not stop overthrowing players and throwing interceptions. It just wasn't a good fit. So Kopech gets the nod in Charleston. They're 0-3. And then John Lakeman, who struggled in Charleston, comes over to Houston and is balling out. It's just very interesting to see, these players. Another one is in Albuquerque with Cyrus Jive. He was in Portland and he had his moments, but they struggled offensively. And then he goes to Albuquerque. And here we go talking about Cyrus Jive being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's just been a fascinating start of the season to see that dynamic play out.
Yeah, I think sometimes Cam is just change of scenery, schemes that these coaches are able to take advantage of a certain skill set that these players may have. And as you mentioned, Cyrus Jive, it really didn't surprise me that he's playing the way that he's playing over in Albuquerque, because as you mentioned, he did have his moments in Portland. They could just never seem to get over the top with him and the combination of players that they had over there at the time. And as you mentioned, Lakeman, he struggled last season, pretty much lost his starting job at the end of the season over there with Charleston. But the change of scenery, I know for sure has helped him, and it has helped headhunters as well.
Pittsburgh hung around with Arizona, but ultimately it wasn't enough. I don't think Arizona's offense has really hit their stride, but their defense has given up just 9.5 points per game over their first 2 games. Pittsburgh had a coaching change 3-4 days before the game, and it wasn't that they fired people. It just sometimes being an owner in this league is tough, Mike. You're constantly putting out fires, and you're trying to make something out of something, and sometimes it just doesn't come together, and that's why when a team wins a championship, it's just so impressive because they're able to overcome all those odds. But Pittsburgh right now is in a bit of a dark place as they're 0-3 once more.
Yeah, that's tough. You were basically handed a fixed deck this week with the coaching change and not knowing, pretty much what you were going to do probably going into this game. And then now you 0-3, as we just mentioned about that 0-3 hole a few minutes ago. It's going to be tough because now, Brian Craven's coming in. I'm pretty sure he's going to, do, all that in his power to get things turned around. I think they have the roster to be able to turn things around. These guys have had a tough start to the season, tough schedule to open up the season with. But if anyone can get it turned around, I think Pittsburgh can. They have the weapons. Ace Fennick coming over. He's a gunslinger. I think they, Mike Twin Screws there. The defense seems to be, playing relatively solid. I think they could show some things up over there. They've been giving up, probably more points than they want to. But tough hole to get out of. But it has to start the following week, or it's really going to get tough.
Then, unfortunately, Mike, we get to all the blowouts. Oh my gosh, it was just ugly out there. Let's start with Queen City. I don't get it. Both teams were 2-0, and both teams played had a strength of victory of 0. They hadn't beaten anybody that had beaten anybody. And so you're coming into the matchup thinking, okay, these two are probably going to be pretty evenly matched. Not the case. This was one of the undefeateds, battle of the undefeateds that did not live up to the hype. I mean, Bossier City just crushed them. It never looked like Queen City had a chance. And I don't even know if that game was about Queen City, Mike. This Bossier City team has come out of nowhere. I mean, everybody, all the panelists were dogging them for the offseason that they had, and they look like geniuses right now.
So when you look at this roster as a whole, I wasn't on that panel because just to look at it, when you have Johnny Pickle, you have Ben Callier, you still have Dave Axis, the tight end from I was in San Diego.
Adam Williams, yep.
Adam Williams.
Garrison Blue.
Look, Garrison Blue. This is not an offense for sure that's void of talent, and so to be explosive and then look the way that they look, and then Rob Noel, the way he's come out 3 straight 100-yard games on the ground, that gives a balanced attack for as far as it goes. Pass and run game, and I think that's pretty much a key to Johnny Pickler's success. And this team looks like they're for real and look like they're going to be a handful the rest of the season for whoever they may face.
Next was Vancouver taking out Oklahoma City 66-3. It was, in fact, not the most points that Vancouver scored in franchise history. They put up 76 on Houston. Mike, you're now headhunters way back in season 15. That was a crazy game too. This game was ugly from the jump. Vancouver, a little hyper aggressive in this game. Got some flack for that around the league. I equated it to kind of punching a baby in the face. But at the end of the day, Mike, what are they supposed to do? Kneel 40 times? I mean, you got to go out there and play the game. And Oklahoma City just. They had some momentum early on in this game. Yeah. They got a couple interceptions on Vancouver, and I think it was only 7-0 late in the first quarter, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, maybe Oklahoma City's got something here, but that offense just has so little talent. It's just Vancouver's defense, too much to overcome. That defensive line is too good. That secondary is too powerful.
Yeah, you can kind of see what Oklahoma City, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, but they are severely outmanned pretty much on both sides of the ball. And Vancouver did what a veteran team is supposed to do. They took advantage of that, and they pretty much left no doubt as to who the superior team was in this game, and they put up huge points in that 66. I was watching towards the end of that game. That could have been a whole lot worse. It could have rivaled that 76 they put up on the Houston Hyenas, not the Headhunters. I would never be part of such a beat down, Cam. I'd never be a part of anything like that.
I said the now Headhunters. I didn't.
Hey, a lot of people may not have known what you were saying. I just want to clarify for the people.
Yeah, thank you for setting the record straight. So, Oklahoma City, since people got film on them, 3 points in the last 2 weeks, their offense has really struggled. Minnesota, I don't know what happened. It was 3-3 at halftime. They were in that game. They were establishing a run game. They were holding Jack Wigmore down. I think he was 2 of his first 10 passes. Couldn't get anything going, and then Baltimore turned the screws to him in the second half and got their first win over Minnesota in a while. Minnesota has had a tough early season schedule. Their 2 losses are to Mexico City and to Baltimore. That's nothing to hang your head about. But I think Minnesota, the first week after the loss, they said, hey, we lost week 1 last week too. Or last season too. Well, they didn't lose to Baltimore in the regular season last campaign. So yeah, an impressive win for Baltimore, but pretty disappointing outing for Minnesota on the road.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing outing for Minnesota. I was kind of in on most of this game up until about the halftime mark, and I think I turned my full focus to the Houston game. But I went back, and I'm like, what the heck happened in this game? Then you see the 30-something points by Baltimore, and pretty much the same 3 from Minnesota, and that just made me raise a question as to what's going on with this Minnesota offense. It's like they seem to be one of the more balanced teams you ever want to see in this league. Offense, defense, run game, pass game. It seemed to be very balanced as to what they would have been doing over the past couple of seasons. It seemed like they want to get more back to the run game, and I hadn't seen as much out of the passing game as I've seen over the past couple of seasons. And I asked myself, why is that? I know T.D. Queen is gone because they had a top-notch receiving core over the past couple of seasons. I'm not sure who else may have left that receiving core. It seems like I may
may be missing another player or two that may have left their receiving core, but I think they need to get back to the passing game because they are struggling right now to put points up on the board, and the running game is just not giving them enough. I think to give any opposing defenses problems.
Yeah, I think E.J. Minson, struggles to get involved considering how talented he is. And who knows, maybe they are missing Tita Queen. She kind of took the top off the defense. Haven't really seen a big vertical passing game out of Minnesota in the first few weeks. So we'll see what they have as a bounce back next week. Then we get to Lexington. Oh, they were 2-0. They beat Baltimore. They're atop the North Division. You're thinking, oh, man, they have a chance to bury the Sin City Samurai at 0-3 and leave them in the dust, especially out west where Washington and Vancouver are both undefeated. This is the moment. 4 first downs, Mike. It was one of those Lexington games where you just shake your head and go, we're back here again.
Yeah, it was kind of a litmus test game for the minors, so to speak, and it was also a test for Sin City, and Lexington got a failing grade, and I think Sin City they got a passing grade this week to kind of steady things, as to who they are and what they have been over the past couple of seasons, and it just has to be a disappointing performance for Lexington, no matter how you cut it. 4 first downs on the offensive side of the ball with the weapons they have is just pretty much, it has to be a major disappointment for them.
Huge shout out to Robert Johnson, who's been in this league for a long time. He's been overshadowed by Logan Lean for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He had a great game for the Samurai, and they get their first win at home as the SFL returns to Vegas. Finally, we get to LA and Chicago. Battle of winless teams. Wondering who's going to show up. And the LA run game showed up. Darius Iniguez and Patrick Rudlang, each over 100 yards. When do you see that? Iniguez, 32 carries. You know how hard it is to get 32 touches when you got a backup coming in right behind you?
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles, it seems like this is how their season's going to go, Mike. On first and second down, they're going to try to beat you with the run. If you stop the run, then Sully Richardson's in 3rd and long almost the whole game, and their offense falls apart. If you can't stop the run, then Sully Richardson with the run setting up the pass is as lethal and dynamic as any quarterback in the SFL. Chicago has a run defense problem, and Los Angeles ends up getting a win, 31-13 on the road. It was very impressive, but if I'm Los Angeles, I'm studying all the stunts and everything that my opponents do up front to try and get 4 to 5 yards out of my ground game on first down, because that's the key to winning, at least for this Lycans roster, it would appear.
Yeah, and I really like Iniguez in that backfield for Los Angeles. They finally, got him going this week against that Chicago front, and fed him the ball as much as he was able to carry it. And as you kind of similar to what Bossier City has been doing all season long, I think Sully Richardson needs that balance, as you mentioned, to take advantage of the passing game, run some play action, run some roll out, and, get things going in the passing game that way. And LA, they were extremely effective with that this weekend with Chicago.
One last highlight, and that is where the week started. It was in Raleigh, North Carolina, where Marcus Dunhill hits Chris Curtis to start the second quarter, 7-3 Carolina at that point. We go middle of the second quarter as Indy's down by 4. Indy was tied with DC last week but fell apart. This is picked off by Shravan Prasad. Ethan Flowers growing. He is definitely talented, but the mistakes killing him. Here, 1:49 to go. Indianapolis, this game is over and wide open. I still don't understand how that happens. Indianapolis gets right back in the game. Reggio De Niro from Ethan Flowers. It's a 3-point game at this point. And now Carolina's thinking to themselves, all right, well, at least we'll recover the onside kick. Nope, didn't do that either. Indianapolis recovers, and now they have a chance to go down and win the game. 23 seconds to go. Harkening back to the Season 5 championship, a shovel pass in the late stages of this one to get him into field goal range at the 31-yard line, and then Ethan Flowers trying to get his kicker a little bit more room, and he throws a pick. Chris Curtis with the touchdown. Skippy Curtis with the interception to seal it, and Carolina holds on to win an ugly one, 13-10. It was a tough watch on Friday, but it had an exciting finish.
An exciting finish for sure. Carolina, that's typically how they like to play them. They like to play them, those nail biters, tough and close. I know they don't really like to do that, but it just seems like it turns out that way for them all the time. But a big interception there late in the game from Skippy to seal the deal. And man, Flowers, he's showing flashes of brilliance, right, Cam? But then also, at the end there, we saw that, hey, he's still a rookie, he's still growing. But Indianapolis, I've been kind of impressed with them the first couple of weeks. They've had a couple of losses under their belt, but they're not being overmatched and outplayed in a lot of these games.
Yeah, the DC game felt like it got away from them. This game against Carolina didn't get away from them. They hung around, and then almost ended up pulling it off. So Indy falls to 1-2. Carolina gets to 2-1 after their early season Week 1 loss to Denver. Okay, Week 3 spectaculars. Mike, who you got for us?
Well, Cam, this was going to be a different team coming into this as far as who wore it best. But since the people didn't see them, I can't give it to them. I got to give it to who the people saw.
Oh,
and
now it's going to come away?
I'm going to take it away, Cam. We didn't see him.
That's trash. What about honorable mention? You going to give him a?
Well, okay, we'll give an honorable mention to LA. I really like the clean road look that they had this week. I was kind of on the home look, but they really looked sharp this week. They really caught my eye as soon as I saw them on the screen this weekend. Great look. So we'll give them an honorable mention. But now we're going to go with. I'm going to go with the public. I'm going to go with Atlanta. They look pretty sharp on the road. Their road gear looked sharp. Came up with a big win for them. So Atlanta is going to be the who wore it best this weekend. Now let's get to some spectaculars. Mentioned Jason Peace early with a couple of interceptions for Houston, and Incognito with a couple of forced fumbles. Tommy Utah was great this weekend, Cam, with 16 out of 24 for 198 and a couple of touchdowns. So I think we're going to go ahead and give him, Tommy Utah, the spectacular player of the week.
His career, that's another quarterback. We talked about quarterbacks earlier, struggling in Louisiana, and then he gets new life in Washington, and all of a sudden he looks like a whole new man out there. So, there's a lot of that going around in the SFL. So that's Mike's Week 3 spectaculars. Now we get to a lot of people's favorite part of the show when you and I are not on camera anymore and they don't have to look at us because instead they get to look at Haynes' vision. And tonight we got a great game. Florida and Mexico City, the two champions of the 2K4 era, and we start with the Florida Storm. This team is going to be a tough out tonight for the defending champs, and it all starts up front with Ron Cochran, who's only got he had one pick last week, but only 2 picks in 2 games, and in the SFL, you'll take that early.
Well, you'll take that, Cam, but you need more than 34 yards. So he kind of struggled last week, but Florida's been doing this for a while. They've been winning ugly.
Ron Haynes with that big catch late in that game had 24 yards last week. Art Vandelay didn't do much in the run game. Teams are starting to become wise to that, but they can't stop him in special teams. This was the turning point.
Yeah, that was definitely the turning point last week against Sin City. Art Vandelay has been huge for this team in championship games, playoffs, throughout the season in, season out. We saw him change the game with a huge kick return right there.
A staple of this Florida Storm team, Art Vandelay, sort of the new flavor of the month. How about the old flavor of the month? Charlie Bullet Beletsky. This guy showed up on the biggest drive in this game with the game-winning touchdown. I actually talked to him on the phone this week. He said he was so excited, to really kind of have that breakout game. 59 yards and that touchdown to help Florida get the win.
It's always good to see Bullet come back and start making plays for this team. I'm a huge fan of his, and great to see him get into the end zone in that game.
On the defensive side, Daniel Wright is one of the best safeties in the SFL, if not the best. Came over from Minnesota last season. He is just impenetrable. 11 tackles, 2 TFLs last week against Sin City, but that's his stat line every week, it seems.
Well, yeah, see, he's anchoring a secondary that's spectacular, and Daniel Wright is making a big difference in this Florida team. That defense is really the difference maker for the Storm.
A lot of teams can't block this guy. 5 tackles for loss. One Mississippi. They're always moving him around the field. He's a nightmare to take on, and that time he goes unblocked for the score. So you got to watch out for him at linebacker. And then up front, Alessandro Tomello. They're on the far side, just making plays happen in the backfield as well.
You're talking about a staple that's been around for a long time. Tomoelo's been around with this team for a while. I remember him coming in as a rookie, and he's just blossomed with this team, just every season getting better.
That's a look at Florida. Now let's look at Mexico City, the Aztecs, the defending champions. Had a bye last week. The last time we saw them was actually this game that Charles and I called, it seems like many moons ago. Jordan Sipe was terrific against Minnesota, just as he was in the championship game. He's really elevated his play.
Yeah, he's really taken over the reins of this team, Cam, and filled in nicely for Matt Wilson, I'm sorry, and really become the face of this franchise now.
Bill Henry with 51 receiving yards. You know that Mexico City's always going to throw it to the tight end. Noe Terrazas, the Sioux Falls Sparrows staple, now a staple in Mexico City. Look at Sipe scrambling around to find somebody open, and Terrazas just finding that open spot. We were talking about Minnesota not taking the top off of defenses. An offense that can hit you for 30-plus yards in the pass game is always a danger.
Okay, without a doubt, Cam, if you have some weapons like that, you definitely have to take advantage of it, and they did that with Terrazas.
Ray Bentley had a throwback game. The Hall of Famer, 24 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown in that victory over Minnesota a couple weeks ago. And, boy, Mexico City's had a lot of time to prepare for the Florida Storm, and I'm sure that Ray Bentley is going to be a big part of that game plan. On the defensive side, John Osiris, pretty underrated linebacker in this league. He had 3 TFLs in the first week.
Yeah, we're accustomed to seeing, other linebackers on this team making plays, but Osiris had a big opening week, 5 tackles and assists, and 3 tackles for loss against Minnesota.
John Fowler, our next spotlight here for Mexico City, had 7 tackles last week and an interception. And there's your interception right there. He's always lurking. He's a really nice coverage linebacker for the Aztecs.
Yeah, he's really made a name for himself since he went down to Mexico City. He's been a staple in this league for a long time, but he's really blossoming into a star player down there with Mexico City.
Another emerging star, the Australian Liam Ryan. He gets overshadowed. Merrick Itera, Max Jackson, Jeffrey Daggs in the secondary. But Liam Ryan may be putting together the best couple of seasons combined of his career. He sealed the game last couple weeks ago against Minnesota, and he's the guy that everybody sleeps on because all those big names at defensive back.
Yeah, it's definitely getting lost in the shuffle in that defensive backfield, but Liam Ryan is definitely making a name for himself over the past couple of seasons, Cam.
So you've got the champions from season 21 and 22. You've got the season 23 champions playing in their 250th game tonight. Mike, who is your pick? You almost nailed last week, by the way, Bossier City, Pittsburgh. I'm surprised you didn't pat yourself on the back to start the show because that was an incredible prediction. So who you got tonight?
Yeah, we have to put that week behind us and move on to predicting this week. I don't have time to, start,
There's snow coming. You don't have time.
Yeah, I don't have time to, pat myself on the back about last weoc's stuff. I mean, I know I'm good, but hey, we got to, we have to move on from that. But now I think this game this week is going to be kind of opposite of what we saw last week. I don't think we're going to, get into the 30s or 40s this week. I see it being kind of low scoring. Jack's data's predicting this at 47.5 over under. I know they crunched the numbers even more than I ever thought about doing it. I just don't see it getting that high. Mexico City is a 5.5 point favorite in this game. I see them covering that 5.5. I see them winning this game. This Florida offense just have not shown me enough yet this season, and I know this defense is great. So relatively low scoring though, Cam. Let's go with
oh man, I really even hate to say this for the people. It's going to get ugly. Let's go with 14, 14-6.
14-6. Wow. Well,
I know that's low. It seems low, but yeah, it's not going to get much out of that range.
boy, if they come out with a shootout, that's what we're going to lead the show with in week 4. But there's Mike's prediction tonight. Mexico City and Florida coming up. Tyler Falk, Chris Curtis will be in studio. We've got the full cast and crew. Me and Charles have that call here in a little while. Just a couple minutes time, we'll get everything turned around, set back up, and we'll see you at Estadio Matt Wilson. This has been SFL This Week, and we'll see you next week.